clarifying to everybody, I'm not feeling the greatest. So if you hear me snottering or coughing or whatever, apologies in advance.
It's going to be covering on snotters.
Yes.
Right. Did you hear the latest this news about Jean Marsh
I did, yeah.
passing on, age
Yeah.
90?
Yeah.
Obviously she's a person on Doctor Who. We just seen her in the Crusade, which we just reviewed recently.
Yeah.
As Princess Joanna. She was also in the Dalek Invasion, not the Dalek Invasion, shut up soon. The Dalek Master Plan from season 3.
Mm-hmm. All right, okay.
Which is coming up. We're just about to review that probably later this year. She was also in Battlefield with the Seventh Doctor for season 26 in 1989.
Oh, okay.
So she will be back. She was also married to John Pertwee, the third Doctor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was married from him from what was it, 1955 to 1960, I think it was. Yeah, they got divorced in 1960.
Mm.
Yeah, they had no children together, and she never remarried.
Okay.
But I think she was his first wife. I think. Yeah, I think he remarried a few more times after that.
Was it not 3 times he was married?
Yeah, I
Is that
think
right?
so. She co-created. I think she co-created Upstairs Downstairs, which she starred in as well.
Okay.
Which was pretty successful back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, she was in Adventures and Space and Time, which we reviewed as well. Obviously, we had William
Yeah.
Russell in it.
Yeah.
Nicholas Briggs was in it. Callan Ford was in it in this scene here.
Yeah.
And this is the scene that she's in. Jean Marsh is on the left with Annika Wells, who plays Polly, the first and second Doctor companion. And this is in a party scene, I believe, when Verity Lambert's leaving, I think. I can't remember correctly in the show, in that drama, if you remember correctly.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So she had
Vaguely.
a wee guest spot in that. So yeah, she's passed away at the age of 90. I believe she had died from complications of dementia at her home in London. So
It's a shame. It's a shame. She's a really good actress as well, so she'll be
yeah,
missed.
she will be. And our thoughts go to friends, family, loved ones, and yeah, she's gone into the great TARDIS of beyond.
How does
Yeah.
that
Anyway, in other news, why current Doctor Who is losing public favour? What the data reveals. Now, did you see this one?
I didn't, but you know, every fan probably knows like why. But I'm sure this is going to be a more in-depth um, revelation.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting actually. Shit, what's this? What the fuck's going on? There we go. Right. So this was written by Joe Lewis, and this week marked 20 years since Doctor Who returned to our screens in 2005. As statistics nerd, I was curious to see how the show is currently perceived with hard data, especially with such a milestone being reached. Conveniently, YouGov released a poll to mark the anniversary, offering some rather eye-opening insights into how the UK public feels about Doctor Who right now. Because this is a YouGov poll known for surveying a broad cross-section of the UK population, the results give us a reliable snapshot of more mainstream opinion. And unfortunately, it is not all that flattering. For a series that has spanned just over 6 decades, the data suggests Doctor Who is now more of a niche interest than a cultural pillar it once was. So the basics. According to the survey, 26% of the UK adults said they had never seen either version of the show, not the classic run from 1963 to 1989, and not the modern revival that has been on air since 2005. Among 18 to 24-year-olds, that figure jumps to a staggering 39%, suggesting the show is now, in spite of RTD's assurances, struggling to connect with younger generations. And even among those who have watched Doctor Who, the level of enthusiasm is underwhelming. 20% said they prefer the classic series, while just 15% favoured the current version, and another 10% liked about both the same. But 20% said they do not like either. On top of that, 9% said they do not know what they thought. So, what does this mean? Looking at the age breakdown, older generations who likely grew up with or remember watching the original series are unsurprisingly more loyal to the classic era. Among the over 65s, 34% prefer the original Doctor Who, while only 4% support the current iteration. The 50 to 64-year group shows a similar trend, 32% for classic, just 10% for current. Younger viewers are more inclined to favour the revival era, particularly those who grew up with it, but even in the most supportive group, 18 to 24-year-olds, only 26% said they preferred the modern version. The number drops to 22% among 25 to 49-year-olds, which is concerning considering this age group is arguably the core audience the current series should be engaging most. In short, enthusiasm for modern Doctor Who isn't particularly strong, even among those you'd expect to be the most invested in it. Worse still, the younger the respondents, the more likely they were to have never seen Doctor Who at all. Nearly 40% of 18 to 24s and 31% of 25s to 49s said they had never watched either version, compared to just 15% of those aged 50 to 64. That feels like a huge red flag. The show is clearly not breaking through to newer generations the way it once did. But this is not just about generational preferences. General apathy cuts across the board. Around 20 to 22% of every age group say they do not like either version, and don't know responses sit between 8 and 12%. That suggests a consistent level of disinterest among the wider public, not just in younger viewers, but across all demographics. So, looking at the big picture, at least from where I'm sitting, older audiences are keeping the flame of the classic series alive. Current era has some support among younger audiences, but even that it's relatively soft. Among older viewers, support for the new era is virtually non-existent. The most concerning of all, the youngest adults are the most disengaged altogether. And if there's one thing this franchise needs to stay relevant, is a new generation of fans. None of this is entirely shocking, especially given Doctor Who's most recent run with Ncuti Gatwa in the lead did not exactly light up the ratings. And even RTD acknowledged the problems with some fans like this current iteration, the overall audience's figures don't reflect a resurgence in cultural relevance. With Gatwa's second season on the way very soon, there's still hope the show might find its spark again. As some who genuinely wants to see the show succeed, I'd love to see it reconnect with the wider public again. If current Doctor Who is going to continue, This poll makes one thing very clear. It needs to reconnect with old and new fans alike, and fast. So what do you think of that then?
Pretty much hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? You know, I think our sort of generation is the ones that, probably the last generation to pretty much grow up in the classic era before obviously the modern stuff came through with Christopher Eccleston and David Tennant. So I kind of see the point with the fact that the older fans prefer the classic ones. I think it's more to do with maybe the storytelling and maybe a mixture of storytelling and nostalgia. You know what I mean. So like when you're watching something, even from when watching something I've probably watched about a million times, but I grew up with, like sometimes that's my go-to. You know what I mean? If I can't find something I want to watch, I'll just go to one of my go-to films or TV series to watch. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's the same in this respect with the older generation as well. Um, I bet there's a fair few out there that do quite like it, like the modern stuff, maybe up to maybe David Tennant, maybe Matt Smith sort of thing, but I think they kind of disconnected after that. But they might have not. They might have, still hung about when Peter Capaldi was the Doctor. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know. The fact that you know, what did it say about RTD again? That and even RTD acknowledged the problem. Yeah. So he's finally admitting that there's an issue with his stories from his second run, finally. But I think he's still in that sort of denial or stubbornness
Hmm.
of going, no, no, it's fine, like it's a good story or whatever, whatever's going on in his head and that. But by the sounds of it, he's starting to get that slowly starting to get that uh, slowly starting to get that sort of what's the word I'm looking for here? It's kind of gone now. Yeah, it's slowly starting to see what the fans are seeing. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, um, personally, I don't know. It's just last season was just as we've covered. That's all I can say about that.
Meh.
But it is what it is. You know, I think I've just rambled on a load of shite there, but I don't know if any of that made sense. But it made sense to
Eh.
me.
All right. Let's see what you make of the next one.
Okay.
Uh, right. More again from Doctor Who TV website. One fan's take: Doctor Who used to feel welcoming. Now it feels antagonistic. What do you think so far?
Again, hitting the nail on the head. Well done.
Yeah. Let's see what this guy's got to say. So it's written by Charlie Matheson. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Sorry if I butchered that, but in recent years, Doctor Who hasn't felt like the show I grew up loving. It's not just nostalgia talking either. It feels like something deeper has shifted and not in a way that brings people together. These days, fans don't seem to talk as much about the plots or mysteries anymore. Instead, most of the noisier conversations I see around Doctor Who are about controversy, politics, identity, and whether the show is making some kind of statement. Now, with the upcoming series led by Ncuti Gatwa, new companion Varada Sefu, it's all flared up again before a single episode has even aired. In a recent Radio Times interview, Sefu addressed some of the backlash the show has faced, saying, I just think we're doing the right thing if we're getting comments like that. Gatwa added, we're going to piss off so many people. I could help I couldn't help but sigh at this because all I could think was I missed the days when it felt like the marketing and mission of the show was to bring people together.
Mm.
I remember a time when a new season of Doctor Who saw fans fervently speculating on what the new monster would be, what villain might return, and what strange planet the Doctor would land on next. That excitement, that mystery, that sense of mystery was a part of what made the show feel magical. Headlines that are increasingly about how many feathers the show might ruffle are not the kind of build up that makes me want to grab the popcorn and settle in on a Saturday night. Right. Not all criticism comes from the same place. While it's entirely possible that Gatwa's comments were said with a degree of humour behind them, it's still worth acknowledging that when the actor playing the Doctor seems to embrace a more antagonistic tone, it can feel at odds with the spirit of the character. Regardless, the way Gatwa phrased it, that they were going to annoy a lot of people, carries the assumption that those people are reacting for the wrong reasons. And yes, I know there are people who push back on everything these days, and some of those voices are toxic. But not everyone who's struggling with the current version of the show is coming from that place. To be clear, I consider myself a fairly progressive minded person, but even I've found myself feeling frustrated lately. And it's not because the cast has changed or because the show has become more diverse, etc. It's because somewhere along the way, the balance shifted. The stories stopped feeling like they were for everyone and started to feel like they were aimed at proving a point to someone. A culture shaped by outrage. It's also worth acknowledging how much the conversation around Doctor Who has been shaped by the media environment surrounding it. Mainstream press outlets often latch on to the most controversial or polarizing angles, and headlines are increasingly framed to spark outrage or tribal responses rather than thoughtful discussion. That creates a distorted version of fandom, where loud voices on either extreme get the most airtime, and everyone in between is pushed to pick a side. Social media plays on this too. Platforms reward engagement, and the fastest way to get engagement is through negativity. Posts that are angry, divisive, or accusatory get pushed to the top, while more measured or complex takes are get buried. As a result, it often feels like Doctor Who is no longer something we can just enjoy or critique. It has to be either defended or torn down. This constant push towards extremes makes it harder to have a good faith conversations about what's working and what isn't. It creates an atmosphere where all criticism is assumed to be bigotry and all praise is assumed to be blind loyalty. But the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. So, Doctor Then and Now. Classic serials like The Green Death or Genesis the Daleks tackled big social issues, but they did it within unforgettable stories. You could watch them just for the adventure or look deeper and find something more. Even in the first half of the revived era, episodes like Human Nature, The Family of Blood, or The Saigon Invasion and Version explored complex ideas, but they were still ultimately about the characters. The message was clearly there, but it didn't drown out everything else. That's what I feel like we've lost. Not the values, but the way those values are woven into the show. Nowadays, it feels like we're being delivered a big red highlighter pen. Oops, sorry. Feels like they're being delivered with a big red highlighter pen. It leaves little room for wonder or imagination. And if you don't like that approach, well, you're not the correct sort of viewer anymore. Classic era writers like Terrance Dicks talked about Doctor Who being for everyone. Dicks warned against focusing too much on messaging at the expense of telling a good story. Even Stephen Moffat once said plainly, "We have to keep everyone on board," making it clear he believed the show shouldn't just cater to one side of the political spectrum. That spirit of the show that welcomed you, and no matter who you were, is what made it appeal to the broader audience. When I watched The Doctor growing up, he was clever, kind, and brave. He didn't care who you voted for, what your beliefs were, or where you came from. He was someone who tried to do the right thing, even when it was hard. That's why it stings when the actor playing the Doctor seems happy to say it will piss people off. I worry it's not just the usual critics on the fringes who are feeling alienated, and that matters because when a show built on compassion and curiosity starts to feel combative, even the most loyal hearts can begin to drift. There was a time when Doctor Who quite regularly pulled in over 8 million viewers, sometimes even more. That wasn't because it was safe or watered down. It was because it still spoke to everyone. It could be smart, silly, political, thrilling, sad, hopeful, sometimes all in one episode. And that mix made it a show you could watch with your family, your friends, or in your own. And I know you belonged. If the show now wants to speak to only one part of the audience, that's a creative decision. But no one should be surprised when that comes with a cost, especially if provoking outrage becomes part of the appeal. When that happens, Doctor Who stops feeling like it belongs to everyone. What's at stake now? The show's ratings have been steadily dropping in recent years. Reviews have been mixed, to say the least. Even Russell T Davies has admitted the future is uncertain. Some reports say the show is hanging in the balance. I don't think Doctor Who is failing because of one thing. It's not just about casting, writing, or politics, but the tone matters, the delivery matters. And when a show that once brought people together starts to feel like it's making you pick sides, that has inevitable consequences. I don't want the show cancelled. I want it to be brilliant again. I want it to be the show that made me feel like anything was possible. I want it to matter again, not just to some, but to everyone. I understand that no show can please everyone all the time, but Doctor Who once came remarkably close, and that's part of what kept it alive for so many decades. If it becomes a show for some, not for all, that might be the greatest loss of all. So, what do you think?
Sorry, I was getting rid of some snotters.
Lovely.
Yeah. So it's I didn't the shooting cat what an interview where he said that pisses people off. Was that on the radio? Did you say, or was that just a TV interview?
I think that's what Varada Sefu said that he said on set when they were
Right. Okay.
filming. They said that the us two being in the TARDIS, meaning him and Varada Sefu, would piss a lot of people off.
So okay, sounds like it's been taken out of context. I don't know because we weren't there. Take it as you will, like you know. Um, yeah, I can see why people will be pissed off with that sort of statement, especially with the state of what's been happening with the show recently from the previous season, things like that. The other side of it is you could have said it in a joking manner, like I don't know, it's completely out of context. To play devil's advocate, it could be out of context, but knowing the state of the world and some people's beliefs and things like that, like it could be uh, it could be what's been on his mind, and he's just like jokingly said, "Oh, it could piss people off or whatever," but it's been taken out of context. I don't, because we weren't there. We don't know what like that statement was about.
Hmm.
So, but like with the whole fact that it's getting pointed aimed at a certain demographic and everything else, and it's alienated the original fans like us pretty much. And don't get me wrong, I would love to sit in this podcast and go, "Oh, that was brilliant! That's absolutely fantastic! I can't like that is blowing my mind." Like some of the episodes that we've watched, and some episodes that'll be up and coming. I cannot wait to review those ones. You know what I mean? Because there was some phenomenal storylines as well. And I'd love to sit here during these past like season one, like season 14 and this season 15. You know, I'm refusing to say season one and season two because it's not. It's just 14, 15. Anyway, I'm refusing. But I'd love to sit down and say that was fantastic. I absolutely loved that. You know, I mean, but unfortunately, I'm put in a position where I'm reviewing this and giving my honest opinion as well. And that's what I've been doing on this podcast. And the fact that it's kind of hit the nail on the head. Yes, it's aimed at one demographic and alienated every other fan out there. It's fact. It's not. It's not anything else but factual. RTD said it itself in the past as well that he's doing these stories and nobody likes it. They can off sort of thing. You know what I mean? Which is unfair to the fans like us and like like long term fans. But it is what it is. Point I'm trying to make though is the fact that we we need to kind of sit down and look at it and go right. Well, actually, when I say we, I mean RTD needs to sit down and go right. Well, that didn't work. All right. So, but then he's not. He's trying to push certain things into the show, which okay, fair enough. But like you said in this article before, that they've done like in episodes as well, they're woven it into the story, but not taking away from the actual story. What was wrong with doing that in the first place instead of putting it in people's faces? And I think that's what's pissing people off is the fact that it keeps getting shoved in their faces. You know what I mean? And it's telling people that we don't care about this demographic, which is alienating them, but we care about this demographic only. You know what I mean? And as you said, the show's like an inclusive show. It's meant to be for everyone. And there's nothing to say that in season 14 and this season, there was nothing to say that RTD couldn't have put in everything that he wanted to put in that he has done, but like doing it into like woven it into the stories and things like that, rather than just put it and go right there you go, that's in your face sort of thing. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what's kind of pissing people off as well. And it's I think he's solely focused on these sort of things that he wants to put into these episodes. That he's not thinking about the actual stories. He's thinking how I can there's these stories here. How can I put this into this episode? And just like in my point of view, he's just zeroing in that tunnel vision in his way into that, and then incorporate it into the stories that we're now seeing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I basically agree with everything you basically just said. We kind of, I think me and you are kind of like this guy. We don't want it to be cancelled. We want it to be good, but it kind of looks like that's possibly the way it might be going. If they don't kind of right the ship at some point, but
See, I don't want it to get cancelled by all means, and I've said this in other episodes. What I'm about to say again is, I think the best thing for the show is just taking a break, reconvene, take some time, get some stories together. Even if it takes 5 years, even if like a 5 year plan, somebody comes in, right, and says, right, we'll have this guy as the showrunner, for instance. Give us a 5 year plan of what these stories are going to look like, and take that time, those 5 years, to put these stories together as well. even it doesn't even need to be 5 years. Just a break at least, just so they can save the show and get all the fans back. And I love any sort of fan, like any fan. I don't care who you are or whatever. If you're a fan of the show, I'll chat to you to the end of time about it. You know, there's a couple of people at my work that I talk to about Classic Who and New Who, as we call it, and that, and like they know a lot more than I do. But then I was like, oh well, you'll have a great conversation with my brother because he'll go right in depth where I can only do the surface, but my brother can go right into depths of it. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
but and like they've even commented like as well about um the show and where it's gone to as well, and you know they don't like not saying it to, like as a mean way, but like they don't with the issue like with everything that they put into the episodes and things like that. The political correctness, whatever, into it, that they you know they think that it's important things to put into, but not as important as the show itself and the episodes as well.
Yeah.
If you get my drift, you know what I mean. So like you know, like by all means, if you want to raise an issue, that's what film and television can be about at times. You know, like you can put right. There's I don't know uh, like some sort of issue that's happening in the real world, and you do a story on that and do it as a film or a TV show and everything else. People watch it, and there's certain issues within there that needs to be addressed, and it can open people's minds up and go, oh, I never thought of that. And it has that sort of discussion around people. And I think RTD has kind of failed in that respect of, okay, this is what I want to address, but he's gone the wrong way about it, sort of thing. You know, like if he incorporated it into the episodes, as I said before, and like had great storylines within these episodes, could you imagine the conversations people would have as well? Going, oh, did you watch Doctor Who on Saturday? Oh yeah, it was great. You know, I like, and then like, you know, oh yeah, like it made me really think and stuff like that. Like people like talk about these sort of things. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it would have been a great thing for people to talk about, and it could have, you know what I mean? So, but obviously it's not turned out like that. So
Now we've lost a lot of the fans and basically the general audience walked off as well. So, anyhow, um, Ncuti Gatwa was on BBC Radio One with Vanada Sefu, and they were basically promoting the show. And they presented him with the toy sonic screwdriver. It was like Billy who works in the crew or something. I don't know. Anyway, so they gave it to Shooty, and basically it lit up and made sounds. So basically, we had this. I don't know if you've seen this one.
no, I haven't no.
Now, it's like, oh, it makes noises. Uh, and he's
What
like,
sort of noises?
yeah, he's so surprised. But it's what he says next. I'd like to see what you think. What you think of what he said next? He said, "Hold on, none of the ones I've worked with on set do this. Not the one that they gifted me. Right? What do you think?"
Right. So what was the general gist of what he said? Because it didn't really make sense there. It wasn't going
So
anywhere.
basically, they gave him a toy sonic screwdriver by one of the crew members that worked on Radio One,
Okay, right.
and it made noises. And he was so surprised by that because he was like, "None of the ones I've uh, worked with on set do this."
Oh,
Right?
right, okay. Right.
nor the one that they gifted me.
Right. Okay.
So usually actors, when they leave Doctor Who, get gifted a sonic screwdriver.
Ah, right. So he's let slip there that
I
he's
think he's let it
left
slip.
the show. Even the one they gift. So, like at the end of their tenure, they get gifted a sonic screwdriver.
Usually, yeah.
Oh, so he's pretty much let slip that he's already left the show.
Potentially, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I just thought it was weird that he said that, you know.
Even the one that's gifted it, gifted me. Ah, all right.
Yeah.
That's okay. Cool. Well, not cool. Well, yeah, not cool, but that's interesting. So
Mm,
he could potentially regenerate. You know.
potentially, yeah. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
There's been other interviews that were on News Round. They're kind of, talking about Doctor Who and stuff. I think this was at the premiere for the first episode.
Right.
And this dude here on the right, who's the interviewing them, said, quite quickly, series three. You know anything about series three? Um, and she was like, well, "Do you not know anything?" And the guy interviewing was like, "Oh, well, what? Why should I know? Like, you're the ones that are in the show. You should know about it." And Verada looks a bit like, "Oh, uneasy."
Yeah.
Uh, she is kind of like deflecting. I was like, "I don't know. I'm asking." The guy says, "I don't know. I'm asking you guys. You should know more than me." And she was like, "Oh, I don't know anything." Uh, and then we
Yeah.
get the man himself, Mr. Russell T Davis, and his response is quite interesting. He says he feels now that the Doctor has reached the status of like Robin Hood. Sometimes there might be a pause, and during that pause, the viewers of Newsround now will grow up a few years and start writing like stories, and they'll bring it back. So I have absolute faith that it will survive because I'm living proof of it. And that's what happens to good ideas. No good idea ever dies. It will take you home. Oh no, no, sorry, he says he never dies. So that's him kind of hinting that possibly there might be a hiatus.
Yeah. I kind of thought there would be. I reckon. Right. My prediction for end of this season, this new season, is should he? I think I've already said this in a previous podcast, have I? Like, I'm pretty sure. But
Okay.
um, Shooty regenerates and it's been left open ended. I think you'll just see the burst of regeneration energy. The TARDIS will probably get destroyed once again. It's just that the TARDIS set will get destroyed because that's what RTD does.
Hmm.
Um,
That's what everyone does. It's bloody annoying.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then it'll be to be continued or some stupid shit like that.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, as I pointed out before, time and time again, I think a hiatus is probably what is needed so they can go back to the drawing board and go, right, this hasn't worked. So why don't we go down this route?
Yeah.
Come up with stories, at least have, like as I said, at least a 5 year plan of stories to kind of bing bang bosh out sort of thing and kind of feel their way around that way, and then at least they know what
Hmm.
works and what doesn't.
Yeah. Um. Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see, but I think it definitely needs a break at least of something. It's not doing too well. So by the way, Shooty Gatwa is gonna be on the theatre on stage in the West End. He's gonna be starring as Edward. No, no, he's gonna be starring in Born with Teeth in the West End. So wait.
Okay.
Looks pretty erotic. There you go.
He looks he looks a bit demented in that as well.
Mm. Bone with teeth. Yeah. So he's gonna be on stage from 13th of August until the 11th of November. So that kind of means that he won't be available to, if there's going to be another deal with Disney to do a season 3, he's not going to be available to start filming in like the summer because he's going to be on stage right up till November. So that means if they're gonna start filming, it might not be till later this year and maybe into next year. So that probably means there's gonna be no Christmas special this year at all.
Oh well, fun while it lasted.
Yeah. Because I mean, he's a jobbing actor. He needs to go and make money somewhere else. So they couldn't confirm whether Doctor Who was going to come back around or not. So he had to go off and do something else, didn't they? So
here's an idea, and I think oh Christ, my memory's starting to fade. I'm getting tired. Eighth Doctor name, please.
Paul McGann.
Paul McGann. Thank you. I think, right, if we're looking for a Christmas story, why not bring Paul McGann back as the Doctor and have a a Doctor Who Christmas story with him in it? I think that'd be quite cool, quite interesting. Bring him back into the kind of fold. Doesn't need to do like entire seasons, but like do specials. You know what I mean? Kind of like what they did with David Tennant. You know what I mean? Like they could have a Christmas special, maybe an Easter special or something like that, or like Halloween special or something along those lines, or springs, like a couple of spring specials or something. I don't know. I think it'd be quite cool to do that. Kind of bring him back into the fold because they haven't utilized him at his fullest, and I like the little mini series that they did with them before they introduced obviously the War Doctor and that.
The wee mini
So
episode. Yeah.
yeah, you know what I mean, like the mini episode that they did, and I thought he did a pretty decent job. So like even if they pulled like because obviously Paul McGann's doing audio versions of Doctor Who, even if you pulled up a couple of stories from there and felt like filmed them, if Paul McGann's up for it, I think that would be pretty cool to do. Christopher Eccleston has also stated that if you could get rid of RTD, he would come back. You know what I mean? So like, I know it's going backwards, but at the same time, you're still getting Doctor Who stories.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Yeah.
the one I doubt they would even entertain that idea. But everybody's listening. Get a petition online, get that done. Bring back Bosch, might never know.
The power of the fans.
Yeah. Let the BBC hear us roar. But I think that what do you reckon? Do you think that would be pretty good? At least you're getting your Doctor Who stories.
It'd probably bring in a lot more of the older fans and
Yeah.
New Who fans who do like Paul McGann. I thought he got shafted pretty badly. Especially the people who like his Big Finish audios, which I'm a fan of. Because when we do get to the Eighth Doctor, we've only got the TV movie, and then it's basically Big Finish audios after that. For a fair amount, and then it's just these wee mini episodes then. So yeah, it would be nice to see him back on the screen. He's still looking pretty good for his age. His Doctor did age, so when basically his last sort of mini episode that he did before the 50th, he was aged up, so he could fit in continuity wise pretty easily. Yeah, I think people would watch it, but would the BBC actually do it though? Probably not.
Thing is, if they're because it would be a sorry.
I don't think that the BBC probably wouldn't want them to overshadow anyone else, to be honest, like Shitty Gatwa and stuff like that.
Maybe not, but if they're wanting to bring at least fans to entertain the idea of coming back, like if they're having a hiatus, if that's what they're doing, if they want the fans to even entertain the idea of coming back, if they eventually ever do come back to do new seasons, like with a new Doctor, then that's the way to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it might spark that interest back in. You know what I mean? But
Which can only hope. But I don't know. Also, Russell T Davis says he's planning seasons 4 and 5 after hiatus hint. I can promise you amazing stuff at the end of season 4.
that was that. I'm guessing that was put on April 1st. That was published, was it?
No.
Oh, it seems like a
14th of
fucking
April.
piss take.
14th of April, mate.
Oh, it seems like a fucking piss take. What about season 3? Is it skipping season 3? Is it like what I do at Is it what like I do at Halloween? Watch Halloween 1, 2, skip fucking 3, and go to 4 and 5.
Yeah, probably.
Fuck's sake.
I don't know. Actually, that'd be quite an interesting fact. Does anyone who is a Halloween fan, does anyone actually watch the third one?
I've watched it once and it bored me to fucking tears.
Yeah. Because he's not even in that one, actually, is he?
No.
No.
They
Yeah.
hint to it. I think they hint to it in the film, but I never actually saw him physically.
Yeah.
It's such a weird film, and it was so stupid as well. But
Yeah. That'd be interesting to find out if anyone actually watches that one. Anyway, fans may only have just seen the return of Doctor Who for its brand new 15th season, but thoughts are still very firmly on the show's future beyond that, given that no further runs have yet been confirmed, and probably won't be until the end of the season. The show's future will in part depend on the decision by Disney Plus, as the BBC has to deal with the streamer to finance and produce the series. Whether they're going to continue with Disney or whether they're going to look at getting funding for someone else, I don't know. I've been told for some time now that no formal decision will be made until after season 2 has finished airing. However, showrunner Russell T Davis has just given fans some positive news, revealing how far ahead he is planning should he and the team get the green light to produce future seasons. He told Parade, "We'll always look forward, ahead to the future if we get the chance to keep running. I've got ideas. I'll think I'll do that near season 4 or 5, and that's always the way I've worked things. So yes, I can promise you amazing stuff at the end of season 4. There are things we've already mentioned that are going to bear fruit for a long time in the future. So that is just the fun of it, and that's the fun of Doctor Who. But to say again, it's pit stops along the way." So current season's Doctor Who is being referred to as season 2, blah blah blah. No one gives a crap. Look at his face.
A great impression.
Look at his face.
That was a great impression of him.
Davis mentions of pit stops refer to something he had spoken about earlier in the interview, noting that Doctor Who is at its best as an anthology show, and that, well, there's an overarching story along the way. All those pit stops are what Doctor Who is about. Anyway, yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. Russell's thinking so far ahead. He's got plans for season 4 and 5, even though season 3's not been renewed yet. So, yeah. Keep thinking up ideas, Russell. That's great. Well done.
Yeah, maybe you can write them for a big audio finish, you prick. Honestly, when back in the day, I used to love him. Like, honestly, he's just continuously fucked me off so many times.
Like me and you, like, and a lot of other fans loved RTD in 2005 to like 2010, and even up until he came back, everyone loved him. And then that was my fear when he said he was coming back. I was like, oh, don't touch it. And he came back and he's like, it's just screwed up even worse. So, you look at Chris Chibnall and you're like, well, at least you didn't kill it as badly as Russell T Davis did,
To be fair, you know what's ironic, and I don't know if RTD is intending this, but obviously RTD was the one that revived the show,
Yeah.
and ultimately he's killing it. So
Yeah.
maybe that's his design. So he could be the one that resurrected it and also killed the show at the same, 20 years later.
Mm.
Is that his aim? Just to wreck it for every other fucker, you know?
No, I think he's so up his own arse now that he thinks I'm doing it fantastically. And well, I seen on the BBC, I think it was on X or something today, they were posting a lot of good comments from fans about the new show, the new series. And, there was no negative comments that were posted up either. So, I think he's surrounded himself with a lot of people that praise him too much, and he's not realizing that the shit has hit the fan. As we're about to see, because the overnight ratings are in for the Robot Revolution. Now, we did a prediction. You predicted 2.3 million. Am I correct on that? Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct.
And I predicted 2 million straight up.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's have a look.
I was overly optimistic when
Right. So Doctor Who TV, overnights ratings only include those who watched it live and those who recorded and watched it later that night. +7 consolidated ratings include those who recorded and watched it within a week. So we'll get that next week at some point. And the +4 screens since 2018. The final consolidated figure also takes into account viewers who own tablets, PCs, and smartphones. Live Plus counts those who watched live and all the repeats, including iPlayer, within X days following broadcast. The Audience Appreciation Index, which was missing for most of last year until they popped it on at the end of last year, is a score out of 100, which is used as an indicator of the public's appreciation for a show. Over 90 is considered exceptional, 85 over is excellent, 60 or less is poor, and less than 55 is very poor. Whoever created that rating system is absolutely dumb because it's pretty stupid. But there you go. That's the way it formed. Right. Let's have a look at the ratings. So, episode 1, Overnights. It's a straight 2 mil.
Rick.
Well, basically, what I did.
We need a recount.
Fuck off. Right, what I did was I looked at the Christmas from 2023 and then the Christmas just passed, Joy to the World, and I noted how many viewers we lost between Christmas and Christmas, which was like 600,000 or something. And I kind of predicted that if we took 600,000 from each of the overnights from last year, that might give an indication to see how much we've got for coming forward. So I put 2 million down, and but anyway,
yeah. I'm smart. I'm Mr. Smarty Pants. I predicted it.
well, we'll see if it pans out that way. It might not. There might be a bump at some point. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see because I've predicted more. Do you want to make a prediction for the next episode? Because I've put my prediction down, which is 1.8 for episode
Right.
2 for overnights. Do you want to put your prediction down for episode 2?
Christ. Well, my next step was going to be 2 million, but
you never know. It could be the same 2 weeks in a row.
right, I'm going to be an optimist and say it's going to be the same 2 million.
You're going to put 2 mil?
Yeah.
Right, okay. 2 mil. Mike's put 2 mil, and I've put 1.8. So we'll see who's closest next time. All right. So I looked on Flix Patrol to see what's happening on Disney Plus on the day the first episode came out on Disney Plus. On the top 10. Do you see Doctor Who there?
Can't even read what's on my screen. Do a buggery. No,
No.
no.
Good American Family, Daredevil, Born Again, High Potential, Grey's Anatomy, Simpsons, Modern Family, Bluey, Malcolm in the Middle, Dying for the S, and Desperate Housewives.
So basically, not one British show is on there.
Oh yeah, because Blue is kind of Australian, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, fuck it. On the 13th, we've basically got roughly the same. Sorry. Still no Doctor Who. Top 10 in the United States. Basically, all the stuff that's on Disney Plus.
No.
No Doctor Who. And the
No.
13th. No Doctor Who.
Yeah. No.
No. So it's not really surprising. It's not charted yet, so we'll have to wait and see. So
They haven't put any of the other like episodes from like 20 years ago anyway, have they?
now,
So
so I don't know. It depends.
because we both said that it would make sense for them to actually, like put in like at least put in Christopher Eccleston's first season onwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean they
Which
could
would have
do like if they didn't want to put them all at the same time, they could at least do like season one for like a month, and then put season two on like a couple of months later, and then alternate it like that. They could maybe do that, and then. But I don't know. It probably depends on rights and what they would have access to. But yeah. Anywho, that's that. That's the news.